of all, thank you all for being here and for our first Recreation Committee meeting. It's been a long time coming, at least that's how it feels for me. But I wanted to just kick things off. It's a very introductory meeting for tonight that we have set, knowing that this is going to be the first one of many, and just try to get everybody familiar with each other, which it seems like a lot of people already know each other, which is great. But then also just talk about what we're here to accomplish as a group, not just tonight, but then as we look forward to the future. So what I thought would just be appropriate is if we could all go around, just do introductions, your name. It'd be interesting to know just like what your connection is to the community. But then also too, like why did you want to be part of the recreation committee? That could be maybe like a passion area that you have, or maybe something that you know that the community is lacking that you want to be part of. And then we'll move on to other agenda items there. Is there anybody who would be willing to kick it off? Yes, thank you.
I'm Parker Furlan. Connection to community. I grew up in Monmouth and live in Monmouth, and as of last Tuesday now have 3 boys.
Ooh, congrats.
Yeah, congratulations on that. I know
Thank you.
your father was very proud.
Yeah, so if I can't connect thoughts tonight, that's fine. Sleep over the past 9 days, so the neurons aren't firing as usual. Why I wanted to join, other than I think my wife Bree wanting me out of the house more, is just wanted to help kind of shape where this goes. And I felt for a long time that Monmouth kind of lacks compared to other communities and what's offered for recreational and park opportunities. And also obviously being a stakeholder with 3 kids coming up through the school system, that was a driving factor as well.
Welcome. Awesome. Did you kick it to your right or left?
Oh, no. I'm Darlene Sanborn.
She's not shy.
I have no connections to this community. No,
I live on Sanborn Road.
my relatives did, and also Gilman Road. So Sanborn and Gilman are names from my past. I grew up here. I've lived here most of my life. I've spent time in Texas and Ohio and other places too, but it seemed, the bad penny keeps coming back. I've been active in something. I was on the select board for many years before I moved to Texas. I'm active with school when my son was in school. He said when I left, don't volunteer me for anything. And I have a passion for several things. I'm on the age-friendly committee, so being able to bring some things to folks that aren't young and, want to still be active in the community, to the table, as well as I grew up at the beach, taking swimming lessons, and then teaching swimming lessons with Mary Chesley there. So that, we used to ride our bikes up street and go to the beach. So, this community to me is just everything. So, and keeping some of that small town feel. And we have so many wonderful facilities, walking facilities, the beach, the sidewalks, and, just so many things that are available to us that we need to, keep them going and make downtown kind of what it used to be.
I'm Caleb McNaughton, life science teacher here at Monmouth Academy now. I have 3 little ones as well. So been helping coaching baseball and soccer for the past couple of years. I've always admired, growing up in Leeds, I always admired the sense of community that Monmouth had. Leeds didn't quite have. And so it was pretty obvious, even really young growing up. And so anything I can do to give back, and pretty invested in the kids of this community at pretty much all levels. At this point, having 3 kids in the elementary and teaching high school. So we're looking forward to being part of this group.
Thank you.
Travis Fergola. I am living in Monmouth, probably, I think 13 years now. I met my wife here. Obviously, we've been living, over off of Frost Drive for the last 12 years. We had two young boys in the school system and, I guess why did I want to join? Some of my fondest memories growing up in Western Maine was being active outdoors, you know, whether it's football, basketball, baseball. And then it was fishing and hiking and doing all this stuff outside. And I think this day and age is something that kids lack, is that a driving force to just get outside, whether it's being involved in soccer, football, fishing, you know. So I think a lot of kids this day and age probably lack the ability to tie a hook on a fishing rod, you know. So there's a lot of stuff that from a recreational standpoint, I think that this town could benefit from, and I just want to be there to help put that on the right path. Yeah.
My name is Wade Morrill. I've been a resident of Monmouth now for about 8 years. I've been teaching here, serving as athletic administrator and a physical education health teacher at the academy for this is my 12th year. Been the varsity basketball coach for 10 years now. Kind of when I came, there was no youth basketball in town, so I kind of got a youth basketball program going. Been pretty involved in youth sports ever since. Since moving to Monmouth, I welcomed, my stepson came with us. Me and my wife and I also welcomed 2 children to our family. So I have 3 children in the school system here. It's not my hometown. It's a lot like my hometown. It reminds me of my hometown. My hometown grew up competing against Monmouth in athletics. They would smoke us in soccer and baseball, and we would get them in basketball. I kind of see the value of small town communities, what youth sports can do. Since having my children here, it's their hometown. So it really matters to me that we do our best to make it the best we can possibly make it in all things. The town beach being part of that. They've enjoyed all the programming that we've run through there. All the good things that we've been able to do there with the playground equipment and stuff like that. All those things I think are really important. And it's like Ms. Samwell said, it's really important to keep them going. But I also think it's really important to try to improve where we can, and make things better for all the kids in town and try to increase the amount of programs that we can have to try to serve all of our kids better, to get them outside, to get them active, to get them off screens, anything we can do. So that's why I'm here.
I'm Libby Helmer. I'm from Colorado and I've only been here about 4 years. I think that is the main reason I wanted to join this is because I'm from a very active outdoor community in Colorado. And this is not my hometown, and this will make it feel more like my hometown the more I get involved. And it's my kid's hometown, and obviously it's my husband's hometown. Like that's how I got tricked into moving here. But I love it, and I want to be more involved, and really make this home and do the same for my kids. And where I'm from in Colorado has a ton of outdoor programs for kids. Not only youth sports, but like mountain biking and hiking and a lot of the stuff that Monmouth has so much potential for, with the lakes and the hills and the trails and stuff. And I want my kids to do it, and I want everyone's kids to do it. And that's why I wanted to get involved.
My name is Justin Porter. For those who don't know, I'm the town manager here in town. I grew up in Belgrade, so not very far away. My parents live on the lake on Woodbury Pond over in Litchfield. My kids go to Winthrop schools. I personally live in Sydney. Between me and my wife, we have 5 children under the age of 12 years old. Just as sort of a little bit of background. We're very happy to have Mike here because we had a previous structure, and I won't try to, because I think I'm on here. But anyway, our previous structure had 2 sort of part-time people, and this was, Mike is a big investment for the town, and I think the board and everybody understand that. So I'm very happy that there's this much interest in being on this recreation committee, because we really need your input. We have consistently gotten through surveys, even before I was here, that recreation is what the priority is of the residents. So we're looking for you guys to do that. And I won't elaborate on that until it's my turn, but thank you all for volunteering because it's very important to have a diverse group that's going to give the board, me, Mike, and everybody just sort of the direction of what you want to pay for and how much and all that. And that's what we're looking for you to do. But anyway,
Thanks, Justin.
I'll stop.
Yeah, that was great. Mike Griswold, Recreation Director here. And yeah, my connection to the community, I grew up in Auburn, but Monmouth was always a place we were connected to through Cumston Hall. Grew up in a very theater-oriented family, and my dad was actually an equity actor, so that's how I was first introduced to Monmouth. But my wife and I, we met at Camp Mechuana in Winthrop when we were 15 and been together ever since. And so now we have our three kiddos, Lydia, who's in 6th grade at the Winthrop Middle School, Braden, who's in 4th grade over at the Winthrop Grade School, and then my youngest, Dorothy, who's 6. She's in 1st grade, who's actually gearing up to do the Monmouth Cheer program here in about a week. And so we've been tied through Monmouth, not only through those personal involvements, but then also being residents in Winthrop and coaching. But the field of recreation is what I went to school for. It's what a wealth of my experiences have lent to, and very similar in theme that everybody has talked about as far as wanting to just create a robust community in what is a very unique small town feel here in Monmouth. And I feel really impassioned to make sure that we reflect what this community is deserving of in setting the standard, actually, for a lot of other nearby towns as well. So that when other communities, for myself, who was part of the Maine Parks and Recreation Association, they can look at organizations like Monmouth as a pillar, as an organization, a community that really sets a high bar for creativity and meeting infancy through senior age populations, that there's something for everybody here to recreate around. So just excited to get this all going, about 3 or 4 months in, but it's been a lot of fun.
Awesome. Mike Petronsky, new to Monmouth. We just moved here earlier this year, bought a house on Outer Main Street. I didn't grow up far away though. I grew up in Winthrop, lived in Winthrop for about half my life. And then my wife and I bought a house in Lewiston, lived there for 10 years. Active in sports there, more on the adult side, but we have a 4-year-old daughter now who's in pre-K. Mike actually twisted my arm into coaching youth soccer, so I did that for a little while. Right now, my daughter's not really into sports. Any of you that were there, my daughter was the one that never wanted to participate, was throwing fits. Hopefully, by being more active in the rec committee and other sports, my daughter will want to participate more in sports as she gets a little bit older. But just looking forward to meeting more people in the community and just giving back as much as I can.
Hope that twist is healed up, because I have some more twisting to do.
Oh, you have to join the rec committee too.
Yes, there you go.
And now I'm sponsoring basketball.
I love it. I was going to highlight that later.
Thank you.
Tom Hoke, I've been here in Monmouth for about 10 years. With my wife, and we've got 2 kids. They are 7th and 4th grade now. I've been coaching softball for several years, coached travel, soccer, and I just love being outside too. Your hometown is my favorite place on earth. My dog's named after Frisco.
Yeah.
And so I also was dragged here by my wife from Colorado, where I'm from originally. But
There's a group for it.
yeah, we'll have
Help group.
Learning to love.
but, I mean, I love it here. I mean, we're in Maine because, I mean, the negotiation with my wife, if I wasn't going to live in the Rockies, is we wanted to be in a beautiful place that, has a lot of outdoor activities, and Monmouth's perfect for that. I'm super active in the trails. I run in Whittier Woods a ton, and have helped with the bridge building there officially and unofficially. And cross-country ski on the snowmobile trails, and have been to a bunch of those trail meetings. And so, I mean, I just love to recreate and do sports, and my kids do too. And so and my kids have done the swim program. So I just want to keep that strong. And then in my other life, I'm a sports medicine doctor, and I like one of the things that it's kind of cheesy, but exercise is medicine is one of the, the big themes of the American Academy of Sports Medicine. And it's cheesy, but it's true, right? So if we can just keep people active and keep people healthy, I think it's better for us as a population. So that's, I just want to make those opportunities possible for our kids and adults.
Awesome.
I'm Kayla Duquette. I'm the select board member on the committee, and I grew up in Monmouth. So I've been here forever except for college. And I wanted to be involved in this committee because I like the idea of making recreation accessible to everyone, not just, it's great that we have youth programs, but I think it'd be great if there were, some for everyone, like people who are older, run clubs, tennis clubs. So that's something I'm hoping to really help create that sense of community again, because there has been a disconnect with a lot of people, especially since COVID.
Sweet deal. Well, thank you all. I guess just a quick few housekeeping things as we move along. Hopefully everybody got a copy of it, and I believe it was enough. If you have to share one with a partner next to you,
Everybody doesn't have one. You
so,
can take mine and share with mine. Everybody have one?
So the goal, I mean, I really am big on wanting to be respectful on people's times, particularly at this time of evening for many of us who do have kids. The goals, try to wrap up around 7 if we can, or as close to it. But really, again, as I was talking about tonight, is I kind of look at this as like the introductory nuts and bolts type meeting, just getting people acquainted. Justin wanted to be here so that he could help go over a little bit of kind of, sure, a little bit of the history, but also just what we're charged to do as a committee and some of the tasks that do set out before us, because we do have a lot of work to do, but it should all be fun work, even though it might take a little legwork. After we go through a few of those pieces of the structure of this committee, happy to give just a rundown of what the last 3-4 months have looked like in my job, just what's on the horizon. And if we have some time at the end, just kind of leave some open discussion, because I think a big part of what this group is going to be for this role, for this community, and is really going to be our sounding board to make sure that the priorities that we might have aligns with what the community wants, because there's so many different directions we can go with this, and that's going to probably eventually lead to some type of master planning in a year, couple of years. What does 5 years look like? And so it would be cool to vision work that a little bit and workshop that with everybody. So yeah, I was gonna kick it over to Justin, just so he could go over a little bit about the nature of this committee. I did take some liberties. I hope you don't mind. There is a document that I put out here. I took some stabs at creating some drafts. So all this is a draft. Of not only trying to devise some type of a mission statement, just so we had something to work from, but then underneath that, going over what our charge is as a committee, and then also within that, what our specific duties are. And these have been adapted from various committees that I've been part of working in the field of rec, and particularly in the municipal sector. So this isn't scripture, but again, I just wanted something for us to work off of, and this is where I would probably be on Kayla and Justin to say, this is correct, we need to change that, make an amendment here. So I just want to make sure everybody was aware, stopping when we go over it.
So you ready for me?
Yeah, okay, kick it off.
So I'm just kind of here just to give you a little bit of background. Kayla wasn't here when we kind of set this whole thing up. She's new to our board. So I mean, she may have watched, but she wasn't part of the decision-making process. So I want to make sure I was here to settle on. So under our old structure, we had something called a recreation commission. And that's why I brought this. It's called the town beach ordinance, but this is really what created it in the first place. We had a recreation commission, which was set up by town meeting, and it had certain tasks. Some of it was they were sort of independently available to create the budget for the recreation committee. They could set the priorities. Because they were created by the town meetings, they were not an ad hoc committee of the select board. So the select board had very little input into their activities or what they thought was appropriate and all of that. The committee, the long-term chair, who some of you may or may not know, passed away. And then the committee just kind of fell apart because it was sort of a passion of this individual to make it all happen. So everything was kind of driven by that. And when it wasn't around anymore, they didn't meet, they didn't have enough members, and so on and so forth. And the select board was really under the old ordinance, really didn't have any authority to appoint anybody or change what their direction was or anything. So when this ordinance here that you see in front of you was passed at the last town meeting, it abolished the Recreation Commission and allowed the select board to create an ad hoc recreation committee. So now the select board is the one that appoints you, and when any of you don't want to be here anymore, they can replace you and all that kind of stuff. It's called the beach ordinance because that's what it was called before. It's probably really not the right name for it, but it was a repeal and replace kind of ordinance, so it made the most sense to kind of keep it the same name. But what I first want to point out is the part that Mike is kind of talking about. This may not be your first priority, but if you go to the back of this, go to page 5 of this thing. A, B, C, and D are appendices which the select board has delegated to this committee to create. So you folks all need to kind of work with Mike and come up with the language that you want. One of them is like, so the ordinance talks about who's in charge of the beach and all that stuff, but it doesn't say who can use it or anything like that. That would be Appendix A. So under this new ordinance, it gives the rec committee and the select board the authority, whether the town wants to or not. I don't know the answer to this, to let non-residents use it. Under the old ordinance, it said nobody from out of town can use the town beach. This one allows the town to make that decision sort of based on this. So you would make a recommendation to select board, and then they would adopt the appendices based on your recommendation or not, right? It's their choice, but one thing. The B is sort of the pass application, which has to do with whether residents can use the beach or not. If you want to let residents use the beach, then do you want to charge them for it?
Meaning non-residents.
Right, yeah, right. Sorry, I said residents.
No, I just wanted.
I meant non-residents, but you're correct. Whether people under our old setup, we did allow people to rent the pavilion and rent the beach out for the afternoon. Right now, we are not doing that. If you are a town resident and you want to have a birthday party for your kid down there, you just let us know. We write you on the calendar and then you just use it. We don't reserve it. We don't do anything. We just say you can go down there and set up a birthday party out of the pavilion. That would be something that I think the select board is looking for some guidance of whether you think we should go back to the rental portion or whether it should just be kind of first come, first serve. And then the town beach map is something that Mike and I can obviously deal with, but that wasn't adopted either. So the ordinance was passed with these appendices in the back, which basically says that the select board can modify those without town meeting permission. So that's
Right.
So that's what that's my first point I want to make. That's going to be work that this committee is going to have to work through at some point to give the select board guidance on what you want those particular things to answer. And I can, if you have any questions about that before I kind of move on to your general charge, I'm happy to answer anything you might have. This isn't really something that Mike or Kayla were here for, so I wanted to make sure that I made that clear that is going to be part of your work, is to try to figure out what all those rules are. And it is a beach thing, but this ordinance is also what creates you as a committee. It says it in there. So it says that, Mike and I have the end authority on how the beach operates on a day-to-day basis based on the policies of the town. So if there are people down there that are not behaving themselves, me and Mike can send them home, basically,
Right.
or whatever it might be.
So a subcommittee will have to be kind of created to
Essentially, whatever.
Yeah, it would be up to
do
this.
those type of,
Yeah, it'll be up to this committee to decide how you want to handle it.
prior to next summer.
Yes, and so I anticipate robust conversation around this particular item. But it's not something that's really that far off. When you
Right,
think
right.
about
No,
it.
exactly.
And so I encourage you to take a copy home with you, and we'll be setting up in future agendas, particularly, again, as we talk about the structure of this committee and how agendas are set and the priorities that we have for, I call this year zero for me, but at the same time, looking at this full first year and acknowledging that the summer is a really huge part. And I know there's a lot of questions that people will be curious to know what direction we take.
So before I,
Question.
Sure.
Curiosity. So the beach, is that mean, I'm knowing that, people like fishing. Are people using that beach and the pavilion, that area during the winter? Is that something that's part of it?
It is never closed.
Never.
So, right, and public work.
For ice fishing, the fire department does a big skating thing
Yeah,
down
fire and
there.
ice thing.
Fire, ice,
Yeah.
the fire department.
Bathrooms closed, so those are closed now because the building isn't heated, so we have to turn the water off and all that in winter time. But the vault toilet is still available.
Okay.
As long as we can convince people to stop throwing all their beer cans in there because they fill the vault toilet up with trash and then we can't empty it anymore until spring because it freezes.
Yeah.
But if we can get people to stop doing that, it would be more available.
Put that on.
All right, so it should include winter, all year round use.
Yes, absolutely. It is never closed, never gated, and it's plowed.
Because, Jack's Traps, I had a brain cramp there for a second. Jack Traps does a big,
Right, they sponsor
the big,
Kids fishing, derby.
Yeah.
so there's stuff that goes down there.
Okay.
So just to go, so now that I've kind of got through this, I just want to bring up, so the idea from the select board was, as I mentioned briefly before, was over time, there's been multiple surveys that have been sent out to the town, and the town's number one priority over and over again is more recreational activities. Under the old structure, we had two part-time individuals that kind of split the rec activities. One was the beach person, and then we had another person who did basically soccer, basketball, and not baseball because cheering and yeah, thank you. Because baseball is a private group. So what the select board did in the last budget cycle was they created, instead of the two part-time and then people, is they used available money in the recreation budget to hire a full-time recreation director. That's how we got Mike. So Mike's job is to coordinate with you folks, but also to coordinate, with the Trails Committee as needed, the Age Friendly Committee, and try to make a more cohesive sort of recreational program. And then the select board created through this, when this ordinance passed last year, they created this ad hoc committee of the select board to try to work through what the priorities were for the community. So they are really looking for you to kind of drive this bus and help them figure out what the priorities are. So as Mike is building, so his budget this year is not really built to be a recreation department. It has, like, this building is in it, which houses the internet for the select board meetings and all the other committees. So there's a lot of kind of odd stuff that's in his budget, but as we move forward, they are going to be looking to you folks to set the priorities, determine how much money you think. He'll help you with that. Like, if you have these 5 priorities, he's going to help you create what those numbers will be. And then and that will be a recommendation from the rec committee to the select board about what that recreation budget should be. So, Mike is going to lean on you to help guide his work for the town because, he can go around and talk to anybody he wants, but you are the people that volunteered. You're the ones that get to kind of set his direction. And he'll have ideas, obviously, that he'll bring to you. And you can either, right? It's always the legislature disposes of the ideas of the people that suggest them, right? So you can do that. So I think that's what I wanted to say. Is there anything else other than me saying that tonight, you guys, from my perspective, you need to organize yourselves. So at the very minimum, you need a chair who's going to help Mike set the agendas in the future. And you need a secretary that's going to make sure that you record the minutes for your meetings. Because the town does not have a scribe per se for all of the committees. The committees are all responsible for their own minutes. So those are the 2 big ones. And you might want to, and I might suggest that you have a vice chair in case your chair is not here tonight, that you know who's in charge of the meeting. But those would be sort of your first priorities, and then decide what your meeting schedule is going to be, what time it is and all that. Right now, right, the staff set that up, but you guys have to organize yourselves in a way that works for the majority of you, what nights you think are the best and all that. And then I have a pretty good calendar here, so obviously you can't meet on the every other Wednesday night that the select board meets because they get priority over this room over everybody else. So, but other than that, we can work that through. So I don't know if one of you kind of wants, I don't know if anybody wants to volunteer to be the chair. Somebody has to do it. So I'm sorry.
I don't mind doing it because then I have to report back to the select board anyway, if people want, or if someone else really wants to chair. Can be.
So that's up to all of you.
Yeah.
You guys can decide. Mike and I have no say in this.
Okay.
You have to argue amongst yourselves.
Well, I was, a question
Did you
I
have
did
something you want to ask?
and again, like what I have written here, this is really, it's really helpful to have Justin and Kayla here. So just, I want to make sure that we mirror what other committees do as far as like terms and just how people are appointed. That I don't mind just like highlighting a few things. Again, this was kind of pulled from different experiences that I've had. But typically what I've been used to, which I want to make sure mirrors Monmouth, is if you look at section B in the recreation charge, that there will be a recreation committee consisting of no fewer than 5 members. We definitely hit the mark there. 5 is, again, just something that I'm used to. I feel like it's a solid number for quorum purposes. And then also the process, as Justin mentioned, about being appointed by the Monmouth Select Board, which you all have been. I'm familiar with more of 1-year terms. Not sure of how
I
that.
think here we're 3, Mike.
It's 3?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
this is why I want to get all on the table here and make sure it's in agreement with everyone.
It doesn't mean it's a blood oath. You can quit whenever you want, but it's just that your term is 3 years.
I'll trick you on real fast like that.
The Constitution of the United States.
Right, yeah.
Get sworn in.
Place my hand on the button, right, it's a matter.
So just moving right down, very similar to what Justin was talking about, is electing a chairperson, a vice chairperson. I do think is a nice thing to have as backup for co-leadership purposes as well. Secretary, but also and that we would decide as the membership group here. And then as far as his terms, is it similar that it's a 3-year term, or those roles?
They can, that's up to them. They can decide if you want to appoint a chair annually or whether you want it to concur with your term of office. And
Yeah.
it's whatever this committee wants to do. We don't have a charter in Monmouth, so we don't have any set rules. So the committees organize themselves in any way they feel fit
Yep.
or feel is appropriate.
So I guess that's a open discussion point of how people might feel about that. If for those particular roles, if that's a 1-year appointment, or if we feel that more than that is what this group wants to agree on, I'm certainly open for.
Typically, I would just suggest that you do like a July 1 to June 30, which would be the budget year. And then
Because then, they don't feel bad being like, this was a lot, straight out.
Right.
Make it
Yep.
bad.
Yeah, for sure. Well,
And the
this is,
town budget year is July 1 to
Yeah.
June 30. So if you line that up, it makes sense with with whatever your.
Really passionate, they can volunteer again.
absolutely. Voluntold. No, I'm just kidding.
Whoever doesn't show up that night gets to be.
There we go.
Yeah. Parker, you were on the chopping block, but we didn't know what the chopping was. And then again, like if there's a vacancy, then what we'll do is we'll make sure that we communicate appropriately with the select board that we have a vacant position and that they would have to go through the process. And I've tried to work pretty hard in how we're trying to get communications out to the community and create a new habit, if you will, for people to know where they can get trusted information that's up to
You
date.
don't love all the Monmouth mom to dads?
What's that?
You don't like all the Monmouth mom and
Oh,
dad?
I'm on the page.
No, there's so many though, which one?
The mom and dad's Facebook group.
There's lots of them.
There's like over 1,000.
That's what I mean, like there's like 5 Monmouth groups alone.
I've joined the ones by the way of recommendation for getting word out.
Okay, that's good. Some of them are like.
They let you in?
So I did not
No,
enter.
when I started working here,
got rejected?
well, I'm not a Monmouth resident, so I was told I was not.
I asked if they would
I live in Sydney.
open their settings so I could join as the Monmouth rec page and not my personal.
Oh, okay. That might be.
I feel like that was a healthy way of doing it. And they agreed. So, and then, of course, as we talked about agendas and meetings, would you like those meeting? I know it all goes up into our cloud as far as recording meetings, but is there anything as far as written minutes to be submitted?
Yes, so the minutes, they're approved at whenever your next meeting is. There's no like requirement about it, that they have to be posted within 7 days. It's just, if you can get them approved at your following meeting, that's ideal. If you can't, that's fine. We don't post them until the board that had the meeting approves them, because we can't just post a draft. Generally, the select board operates under their meetings are on Wednesdays, and I generally post all their information on the Thursday, the week before, so a week or so before is sort of the practice.
And then you'd probably want someone, whether it be the chair or someone, to come to those select board meetings and share what's going on.
If there's anything to share,
Right.
I would say, or an email to me if you have something and you can't be there, that's fine too. I can present information on behalf of committees. Committees do not generally show up to all the select board meetings. They tend to come when they need something. No, I mean, I'm serious. Like they'll come when it's budget time, or they need a document signed or something. The chair will come and kind of
So
represent.
Kayla has to be there. It looks good for the rec committee because she has to be there anyway. She's the chair. I'm always in.
Right, so you would always be there in that
So
case.
like,
I'm
kind of,
usually
what if we have the best representative, right?
It's just, right, it's like Chris Sanborn is on the Compton Hall board, so.
the academy.
In the academy committee, so she's always there, and Kent's on the economic development committee, so he tends to report every week, so things like,
Gosh,
so.
we need you in there.
But it is one of the advantages to having a select board member that's willing to come to these meetings, because they can regularly kind of update the board and the public that are watching them about what's going on in your committee. It just kind of elevates you a little bit. So I would say that's a good thing.
And my
Answer the questions.
sister
Yes.
is
Yeah.
Chris, so. See, it all comes. So yes, she hears it from all sides.
Everybody's related.
Exactly.
Um,
No, I'd be willing to fill any role that you would like me to fill, so.
So I guess the first thing for you, and I don't mean to step on you.
no, that's great.
First thing is someone needs to be the chair, and that would be your first order of business, so that person can then take over the meeting from us staff people who shouldn't be running a town committee.
Question.
Wait,
I make a motion to nominate Kayla as chairperson. I make a secondary motion to nominate Darlene as vice chair.
All in favor?
All in favor?
I second.
Second, we need a second, I guess, and a gavel,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
there is one over there.
Look at that.
You want the vice chair to also be the person that takes notes?
That was going to be my question.
Yeah.
You need to make an amendment to that motion. Wait.
I amend my motion
I second.
to have the vice chair also serve as the secretary of the committee, to be in charge of the minute taking.
I second.
Look at that. This group is on fire.
Power to this all.
So I figure for the sake of.
Congratulations.
Yeah. I know, we should go. Speech. So as far as tonight's meeting, obviously to the extent, the best of your ability, it's again.
Yes,
this is really-
I'm good with it, trust me.
Yeah, okay. The second part, and I do want to be sensitive of time, I just listed out some general duties. These are not exhaustive, but I do think that they highlight a few. I don't mind just quickly reading through. Number one is that the Monmouth Recreation Committee shall advise and recommend to the town manager and recreation director on recreational and public park matters, such as programs, policies, development, planning, or leisure time activities. Feel free to jot any questions that you have as I go through. Number two, in cooperation with the town manager and the recreation director, the committee shall assist in initiating and maintaining progressive programs and activities to include but not limited to before and after school, summer camps, outdoor experiential programs, youth sports and clubs, adult programming, family adult programming, and special events. I think it's a lot of what we talked about in our introductions. Number three, the committee shall engage the community to build a volunteer base and connect them to the community events and programs. Number four, the committee will consider community feedback and research and identify opportunities for programs, events, and resources to bring to Monmouth. And number 5, all proposals brought before the Recreation Committee are subject to review and final approval by the Select Board. So again, that's just a drafted version. Open it for any questions, thoughts, or things that you think that are not captured in here that should be, or things that are overemphasized that should be taken out. I'm welcome to your feedback.
Around the sign sheet for name, number, and email address, so
Excellent.
that I can set up a email distribution list, and then everybody will have everybody's contact information.
Thank you. I feel like you're gonna make a fantastic secretary.
I know.
That's good already.
Corey did,
Well done. Yeah.
Corey did end up graduating.
No, I know, I was there, you graduated.
You know why?
I'm just a really big believer in transparency, not only for the sense of how this group is looking to work together, but also communicating out to the community what it is that we are looking to do. And I hope that even though, again, this is very much in draft form, it starts hitting on a lot of the different elements. Like I said earlier, like there's just so many directions that this department, this committee can take. And it's our job to do our best to hit all of them to the best of our abilities. And sometimes things might get front loaded and others might get deferred, but that's all at the point in which we feel what are our identified priorities at a given.
Dennis gets ready to,
For the messenger?
for the messenger.
Yep.
Some of these, like our duties and things like that,
That's a good idea, Dolly.
to have them in there so that the people start seeing them and hearing them and knowing that the committee's active,
Yep.
because that's,
Yeah.
throws a lot of weight to know that, and they'll see it, you know, because there are some people that don't go on Facebook and look at things.
Right.
They want to see it in the messenger or whatever, so
Yeah.
we may want to like think about that, because it's probably coming up. He'll do his
I think the next one is like,
I think the 22nd is when we have to get our departmental head.
November,
December.
It will be issued in January, but December 22nd, I think is when.
December 26th.
Yes, when we
Okay.
have to, as department heads, give him.
So that's kind of the date. So that's when
Okay.
he's gonna, I mean, obviously it can be a few days later than that, but
Right.
we're running at Christmas.
Okay. So, you know, maybe we think about at our next meeting, putting some
Right, some language that would
language
be.
around that.
That would be fantastic, because I think the town has kind of changed direction with rec, with this new ordinance and everything. And I think it would be good to kind of tell them, 6 months later that the committee is operating and
Right.
this is the chair and,
Right.
whatever else you folks feel you want to say. I think it would be very useful to make sure that the community knows that you are meeting, you are thinking about these things, because
Exactly.
I think it's close.
as some of you have said, there has been negative feedback about the transition at the beach and all that stuff, and that we went through a whole year and there was not really a solution for this summer. So I would kind of throw that on the table to make that something that you all want to talk about sometime. Because of our budget process of not having an open town meeting, our budget process gets shortened by a lot compared to other communities. So our budget process is done by basically April 1st.
Right.
So we don't have the ability to react to anything after April. It's too late. We have to post our warrant and all that. If you go to other communities that have open town meetings, they can decide their budget 7 days before they vote on it. We can't do that. Ours is, we have absentee voting. It's 90 days ahead of time. So we are done April 1st, no matter what anybody thinks about anything. So my department heads get their budget sheets in December. And then we work through January, February, March, April with the select board every 2 weeks, and we go through each section of the budget. So I know we're kind of throwing this meeting at you at the very end of October, but I also want to just make it very clear that he's going to be coming back to you in just a couple of weeks and saying, I need priorities for next year, even though you don't even know what you want to do yet.
Right.
But he has to submit budget requests at the end of December, early January because of our closed town meeting. So I just want to make that upfront. It's not his fault. It's just our system that we do it.
Structure in the town.
The surveys that we've done, that consistently say that we need more rec stuff, are there specifics there in terms of what the community has suggested time and time again? Or
I wouldn't-
do we have that broken down? Like,
No, I wouldn't say that it was as helpful as you probably want it to be. It just kind of says, it's like, these are the areas of the town that we want you to focus on. And rec is always at the top.
yeah, but it's not
But
specific.
it doesn't say how you're going to accomplish it, what they want, or anything. I think
More
it's,
specific survey from this group might be something that.
it might be something that you can think of. And that survey, you have a lot more time, obviously, than that absentee voting deadline. You can, like, we're going to have a question, we're going to have a poll at this upcoming November, which didn't require town approval or anything, that's just going to ask you, which was in the Messenger and Facebook and stuff, about whether we want to consolidate our police department. Do we want to keep doing the work, or do you guys we want our own and we don't want to work with Winthrop? So that can be done anytime, right up until I can print it and drop it out here when you come to vote. So you have all the way until basically June to figure out what those questions might be to put in front of the voters. Because it's not a real vote, right? It's not binding on anybody. It's just, these are the programs that we're thinking about. Which one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? Is it pickleball? Do we want to fix tennis courts? We want to do,
Right.
he has all kinds of ideas, and I'm sure when you have an actual meeting that's not as boring as this one, you guys will get to do the fun stuff that you want to talk about, not listen to me ramble on about how government works.
It's important to know.
No, okay, fair enough.
Well, it's
How to play
important
the
to know because you can throw a lot of spaghetti at the wall, but some of it's not going to stick because. Right.
Right. Well, I think that kind of naturally segues into just like highlighting where I'm at in the process. And I think that might kind of whet the palate when it comes to thinking about, again, where we really start hitting the ground and thinking about some programs, services, initiatives. It is particularly in this first year. My sensing is that, tackling the direction of the beach is going to be one that will probably have closer up to the top of the list. But that will be a reserved time in the future for us to do that. But I figured what I want to do, I kind of broke things up into like 3 different categories just to kind of highlight what the last 3 to 4 months have entailed. The first one was just more like administrative and organizational efforts. As Justin mentioned, it's kind of been a split program between Waterfront and some of the established programs that we've had, with primarily revolving around youth sports. So one of the big lifts that we've had is just building a lot of infrastructure for this department. Very little like standing operating procedures, and also building our website, which is the MyRec system, which again is our online registration system. So building up the content, creating forms for it, educating the community on how to register if they want to pay online, which has been an amazing feature of this program, but also if they want to pay by cash and check, and making sure that they understand how that works, streamlining informed consent forms, because I am familiar that it was all paper before.
Yeah, and
And-
can I just,
Yeah,
sorry,
go ahead.
I don't mean to speak over him, but I just want everybody to know that, so this My Rec program was a choice of the select board, and it was an investment on the town's behalf so that we could get rid of the risk of, and I'm not saying anybody was doing anything wrong, because I don't have any feeling of that at all. But when you went to register for all of our rec programs, you would bring a cash or check to the person who was running it.
Right.
And we don't see that until they bring it back to the town office. So we wanted to eliminate that. So we created a process where we can verify that, Joe paid for Sally to do this, and the money there's no cash. Cash is bad. We do it at the dump too, and we're trying to figure out how to get rid of that too. But it's just,
it's not accountable, right? So we're trying to move that way. So unfortunately, Mike had used this program in the past, so I guess we picked the right one. But I just wanted to say that that's the motivation of moving into an electronic payment system, and so that we know who gave what.
Email people and
Yes.
keep up to date on things, which is something we didn't have. I mean, I don't participate in youth soccer, obviously, but I love getting the messages, because then if someone says to me, oh, you know, Darlene, you've been around, but I haven't seen anything about youth soccer, I can say, by the way.
Right. Yeah, so it has a lot of great features, but it's taken time to re-educate myself. And also when it was out, you know, handle a lot of Q&As that come through. And fortunately, they were easy issues or little glitches that I was able to figure out on my own. But again, it's just like, it takes time, you know, to learn that administratively, but then also execute it out in the field. But I feel that people are starting to become a lot more comfortable with it and know where to look for that information. And the fact that it all interfaces is really great. Updating a lot of our volunteer application and background check systems, fairly lax from what I understood in years past. So just streamlining that a lot more. We've been working with the school with their background check system. So that's been a really great partnership there. As I mentioned earlier, we're now Monmouth's all part of the Maine Parks and Recreation Association. What that basically, it's more of a benefit for me personally as a professional in the field, not only to go and network with my colleagues around the state, but there also are a number of different resources that they provide. Some is this, such as like the summer ticket program. If some of you are familiar with that, with Funtown and Splashtown, you get discounted tickets as a participating community in that. So we'll have more time to do that next year. I kicked it off like mid-July when I started, so it's kind of a crapshoot 6-week window where we piloted it, but there was about 45 tickets that were purchased, which was great. But then also we get linked to different local, state, and funding opportunities as well. But yeah, like I said, you know, in this like year zero, it's really kind of just meeting a lot of people, sitting on a lot of their meetings that have been upcoming. I was with the Lions Club a couple of weeks ago. Met about the building right next to us with the old Monmouth Academy building and the restorations efforts, meeting with the library, local fire and police departments, and just really getting myself more acquainted with folks, because so much of what they all do is so intertwined with what we're all trying to do here at the rec department and how we can best support that. Also, as I mentioned, I'm also trying, as Justin mentioned, like our budget's a little tight, soliciting a lot more sponsorships. So for soccer, we did have the Monmouth Federal Credit Union, just by trade of coming to that open community night that the police department and fire department put on. Met one of the gentlemen, Justin Wood, who works right at the credit union. He says, we want to be involved. And so they sponsored all of our shirts, all of our jerseys, and that was about a $1,500 expense. And so looking ahead to other programs, as Mike had mentioned, he's graciously offered to help out the same with basketball through Scout League and Savings. We have 3 sponsors for cheer that's coming up to help with their competition music, their T-shirts, their bows. There's some unique expenses that go along with that. And it's just been really great. A lot of people have been super supportive. And I think a lot of people do want to help, and they just maybe not have ever been asked before or didn't know how they could. And so I've been putting that out there a lot more and putting it on our website as far as the logos and our communications, not only to say thank you, but to create more awareness of
And that
these
helps
efforts.
with sign up too, because let's say that in the past, if they were gonna play soccer, they got a T-shirt and a ball and whatever. If the T-shirts had to be purchased with the money that they were submitting, that helps cover more things in, say, the budget. So they pay $30. We spend 10 to get a T-shirt and 5 to get a ball, that then really only 15 of that 30 comes back through the budget. So
Right.
having those sponsorships helps the bottom line of our budget
Yeah,
as well.
absolutely. And there's some other projects and initiatives that I'm interested to see, both what we can do with our existing budget, but again, like if there are folks who have particular services, business-wise, that they're willing to help bring, and I'll highlight a project that I had that I'd love to share with you in just a moment, Parker.
where does our funding come from? Is it dedicated revenue from money that we get through the rec programs or the general fund?
No, so this is gonna be something that will also be something that will be thrown on your plate to discuss at some point. Right now, it is a general fund expense, so it's just like paying for the library or anything else. The revenue that comes in from the rec programs goes into general revenue for the town, so it just kind of offsets the amount that's raised. I would suggest if you as a committee decide to make this a really robust program, which I hope that you're all going to do, we may want to go to the town meeting and create a special fund, which will be separate from the general fund, which will be able to then hold its own fund balance. So as you get to a point that you've generated revenue, the committee could make recommendations to the select board that you want to take, say $5,000 to buy new soccer goals or, think of whatever it was. You'll be able to do that. Right now, it all flows right through the general budgeting process.
So if someone donated money, they just donate it to the town and then we get it, or they have to say, we're buying you these jerseys?
So there's a little bit of both there. So
Right. I just went through it.
a general donation to the town, there's an article in the town warrant every year that authorizes the select board to spend money for things that are donated for their specific purpose. For this soccer jerseys, that money comes into the town general fund and then the select board can spend it directly back to its purpose. If that article failed, they do not have to. Nope. So there's a reason, rec is one of those things that generally has a lot of sponsors. And there is an advantageous thing once you move to this full-time and you create more and more programs, there is a reason to separate those funds from the general fund because they can get washed up in, buying salt for the snow removal.
Right. So like.
You see what I mean? So it just.
Yeah. So like, for example, the cheer program, we had a donation that came through for, there was a list that was made of items for equipment. It came out to be about $850. And the business that wanted to help sponsor that, ended up we purchased it. And so it's coded to my expenditure line. The check that was then given then gets deposited, into our
The revenue side of the
fund.
town.
Yeah, and it gets journal entry, but hypothetically, it's great to be able to say, like, I have this amount of money
But it makes
in
it
this
look like you're just spending
expenditure.
a whole bunch.
Yeah, I would love to have that money reappear in that
That
line,
makes sense.
even though it does balance out from your revenues to your expenditures. But, so we're still kind of figuring out and it's very common for a lot of rec departments, and this is where it's been great to reconnect with a lot of folks in the rec field, that a lot of them have enterprise accounts.
Right, that's what they call them. They call them enterprise funds because they generate their own
The
costs.
townspeople are in terms of the budget too. If we had our own separate rec funds, that would go a long way because if people see, the rec department is gonna use this amount of money per year, even if it's money we've already raised, they're gonna be like, oh, this is gonna make our taxes go up, just based on what I've seen the last few
Sure,
meetings.
right.
So I do think that, especially if you're gonna be getting a lot of sponsorships, we should try and get this rec account sooner rather than later. Because
Cause our donations always disclosed to like the townspeople, so like they don't know that someone wrote a $5,000
No.
check.
exactly,
But
No,
all they
this-
see is that we're asking for $5,000.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
looks really bad.
so they'll see it
Right,
like on
there's
our
really no
warrant.
way I mean, obviously that information is all public information, but if you don't know how to
But you'd
ask
have
the
to-
question,
Yeah.
you don't know. So right now, like recreation, we got a $850 donation because Mike solicited, you got it or somebody offered it to you, whatever it was.
Just through
And it
solicitation.
comes in, and because recreation is not a separate enterprise fund, it comes in through basically miscellaneous revenue on the town budget. So you can always look at that, and sometimes you'll see, his budget, now that he's here and he's creating all these programs, is gonna be overspent.
Yeah.
Right.
And if you don't know how to look at the revenue side, you don't understand that money came from somewhere else because it's not attached to his budget. So his budget might be,
When I came in and bought the car.
exactly.
That's perfect.
That doesn't show up anywhere.
Show up.
It's in an administrative revenue line, and if you don't know, it just.
We put a bid in on the old police car and won the bid.
Oh,
My son
really?
is driving around with a nice deer catcher on the front now. Yes.
Sweet.
So, but
A deer catcher, that's an interesting way to put it.
Does this fund have to be done at the annual town meeting or?
Yes.
can-
Yes.
Yeah,
So it
yeah,
can't.
because it would be an enterprise, it's called, the accounting term for it is an enterprise fund.
It can't happen now.
Select board can't do it.
Happen until next,
But we can get it on the June one coming up.
yes.
Yes, absolutely. If you guys were all comfortable with that, you just have to, there are budgetary ways that even if the enterprise fund can't fund itself. So keep in mind, generally an enterprise fund is what you would think of. Rec is one of them in a lot of bigger communities, but it's also your water and sewer. If Monmouth's water and sewer funds were part of the town budget, which they're not here, they're private organizations, they would need to raise enough money through their fees to cover their expenses. Rec doesn't necessarily have to do that because there can still be a line in the operations, the general fund that says,
Right.
we think we're gonna raise, 10,000 in the rec enterprise fund and the whole thing costs 50. So then the town just moves 40,000 into that as basically a payment, like you would pay Spectrum or the telephone company or anything like that.
So we may
So-
want rec as an enterprise, but not necessarily Mike's salary.
Well, big advantage is that,
Right.
and they own their own fund balance.
Exactly.
So if
That's
they,
exactly-
right now, if, say the rec budget is $10,000 and they raise 15,000, the 5,000 goes into the town's general fund. Rec
Right.
can't then utilize that. At the end of the year, it falls back to the town budget and the select board can use it to offset property taxes instead of using it for rec activities. So that's something you might want to think about, whether you want to hold the rec money for rec programs instead of letting it fall back in and be used for fixing the plow on the, right, or whatever. Just make up whatever you want to think about that the town has to pay for.
Paul leaves it all, so.
We gotta watch.
I'll let you say that.
Paul and Dan.
Well, just keeping an eye on the time.
Not blowing smoke. That's one of my favorite departments.
We're keeping it there. So from a programmatic side, just to kind of breeze through these last sections is, again, like really looking at this first year is looking at what's established and making sure that we do a really, really great job with those programs. We just finished up the fall soccer program. Many thanks to folks who are at this table who are part of it. We had 110 kids in the program, 50 in the pre-K through first grade sessions. The second and third grade had about 26, and then 34 travel players. There was one boys team, one girls team. So we're gearing up right now for basketball. We have the skills and drills program that's scheduled to start in December. Travel teams are set to start in a couple weeks. So we're really making a strong push for registration, recruiting coaches. I represent Monmouth in the town meetings that, or they call it the Tri-County League that Lonnie Steves, the director over in Winthrop, helps organize. So that's coming up very shortly. We have cheering as well. They have a program that's designed for K-5. So I've been keeping track of their enrollment and helping them get off the ground running. And then wrestling comes shortly after that. There are some adult sports that are established. We do have the adult basketball crew that comes in. They play from November through April at the Monmouth Academy on Sundays. One thing I am navigating, and this is kind of more of an RSU2 question, is like we have adult volleyball that wants to operate in the Monmouth Academy gym. On the paperwork through the facilities requests, you must have an RSU2 employee on site who is not only helping to open the building, but ideally be present. what works well for
What
you.
is, it's generally a custodian, right?
On the weekend, it could be
It's usually
hit or miss.
a school employee, like
Right.
Brett Witherall is pretty active in the volleyball stuff, and he's usually there. And then
Yeah.
our head of, well, she's not a head of, she's Bonnie Goucher, who
Okay,
runs all the snack shacks for all the games all year long.
Bonnie.
Bonnie, she does adult volleyball too, and
Okay.
she's typically one of the ones there.
Right.
Sometimes, usually what happens, historically, being pretty involved with the building, adult basketball just sort of leaves the door open type of thing. And, cause usually, the high school teams reserve a couple hours in the afternoon on Sundays for if like, A, you need to practice in some random situation, or B, you have a dad who wants to take his kid in and shoot around, or get a little shots up, something. So usually between adult basketball, then the next session, then cheering would come in on the heels of that.
Right.
And then, because there never was an access problem with cheering, and then it would be adult volleyball would come in on the heels of cheering.
okay.
You see what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
the door just sort of stayed open kind of all
Yeah.
day, which has never historically been a huge issue.
My comment came from the election.
In
thing,
today's,
Is we have to hire. a
today's
custodian
climate,
tonight.
school security, building security is becoming even tighter of an issue.
Yeah.
So I know that they rekeyed all the doors,
Right.
a couple of years ago. So they.
Right, we don't have access anymore.
Yeah,
as you know.
the rec director used to have his own key card.
He was
And I've-
also a coach.
Yeah, and
Right,
I've,
the school
and I've been
yeah.
kind of advocating that stays, because I think the rec director should have a key card. I mean,
Yeah, the superintendent is, and again, not to drown out too long conversation here, but it's one thing I'm navigating from the standpoint that a question I got from the superintendent is like, what other communities do that as far as giving their rec department access? And I said it as tactfully as possible. I said just about all of them, because it is a common thing. And so I just don't think the policies of the school have caught up with what is the design of this position,
having
because
the
there's,
town and the school be sort of separate
yeah,
financially, RSU two is kind of its own corporation outside the town, kind of, so.
Well,
That be a little separate is a problem.
it's not,
What's Hull?
would just like to reiterate that it's not even kind of.
it has a key to.
Right. The superintendent owns all, he is the supervisor of all of their land, all of their buildings, and he is responsible for the kids' safety and everything. Monmouth does not own any portion of those schools. I have no access to those schools any more than anybody else that just walks in off the street. It is the way it is. It's not unusual when you have an RSU. The RSU is a separate governmental body. It has its own board. It has its own rules.
Right.
We went through this. It's not that it's not inflexible. And I don't want to say, Rick is awesome to work with. I know he's a resident of Monmouth and everything. He's very responsive to anything that I ask him to do. But when for the school issue from the police department, there was no, until Paul got here, there was no plan for, God forbid, some type of active shooter situation. Chief Ferlin has gone through the ringer to make sure that we have one. And early on, the school board was not supportive of giving the police department key cards to even access the schools. And Chief Ferlin said that is unacceptable. I don't mean to make a big thing of it, but he made it very clear in a meeting. He said, if I don't have a key, then I'm driving a cruiser through the front door, if that happens. So I would recommend that so they back down, and now they all have access to the schools. And Chief Ferlin learned about that mostly from his experience over in Winthrop. In Winthrop, they encourage the police department. They walk through those schools on a regular basis. They have access cards, and they just walk through the hallway. And then they go out and they get back in their cruiser. It's just part of their daily thing.
Right.
And here, they weren't even allowed in there. And so I would give Chief Ferlin a lot of credit for that, because I think it's important to have them be a part of that community.
Yes.
But I'm sure you're gonna have to go through the same thing, and I'm not trying to say anything against Rick. It's just that
To go to our elected school board member, and I think Harold Jones would take some of those things back to the committee and bring them up as issues for us. I worked with Harold on the select board committee for many years. So if there's some issue that we need to bring in front of them, I'd be more than happy to talk to Harold and say, you need to bring this up because.
Well, and I also want to say, Darlene, is that Rick has been very good. He on basically an every other monthly basis invites all of the town managers from his communities to come in and discuss what it is that we might have any issue with. And I do not want to portray that
No.
he's been
No, Rick
anything but professional.
I used to babysit for Rick.
Yeah, okay.
No.
Just want to make sure that people at this table don't think that I'm trying to say anything bad about the superintendent, because I'm not.
No,
He's been very good.
It comes from the committee as a whole.
Yeah.
So if we need to take something back, Rick would be supportive of what the committee brings forward. And if, Harold and,
Leanne.
thank you.
Bill Burke.
Harold, yes, bring those items up, then that would help us to.
Right. And I completely understand. So I'll just say this, and I like to say this in front of as many volunteer groups as I can, as I know that there's been concern in town about that we don't hold our elections in the high school gym. And that has been made very clear to me that they will do it if we insist. But their board has made a decision that the kids cannot be in the school while there's an election going on due to the recent, not just recent, but I guess recent, but the last years of the hostility that everybody takes with voting is that they don't feel comfortable letting people into the gymnasium while the kids are in the building. So they have to do a remote day and they don't want to do it.
They don't want to do that.
So they have asked us not to hold our elections there. So it's just.
Texas for 5 years and they don't hold their elections in schools unless the schools are shut as well. So it's, and
I don't mean to make a bigger thing of it than it is, but I want to just give you context that they're very concerned about the safety of the children, of the kids that are in the schools. And that's their number one priority and and that's their choice. He's responsible for all of their safety, not me. And I respect that request when he says that we're not going to hold our elections over there.
I think that's important. I think
it's
another thing to note is that unfortunately, a small town like this, there aren't a lot of resources, right? So the school system houses a lot of those recreational opportunities. So there's got to be doesn't have to be. We hope that there's some sort of integration there that will work.
Well, that's the benefit of having school employees involved with youth sports and
Right.
and that's how the high school teams, and historically it's kind of been sort of a gray area, right? Kind of a marriage of the school, the RSU and the town, all sort of just, so hopefully that will sort of get
just
cleaned out
like
a
someone
little
said
bit,
to me, I wanted
process.
to have my high school reunion down at the beach, but no one that went into the town office to sign up was from Monmouth. And I said, well, you should have asked me to go in and I would have been happy to, go in and sign up with you and then just be there and hang out at the beach that day. So there's always a way to work around things.
And I think it's also going to be, I also think it's going to be extremely helpful to have somebody like Mike, who's the full-time town employee that the custodians and the superintendent and everybody else knows. And they know that he's allowed to go into the building versus somebody who works, 2 hours a week or whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like there's a big difference there, I think.
Exactly.
So I think you'll have more
Town
access.
employee versus.
Same thing with like Lonnie over in Winthrop, right? Like he has keys to all of the Winthrop schools and because he's been there for what? 40 years. So they know him, right? And that there is a certain amount of confidence that comes with that, with the administrators and the people that operate the building.
Yeah, so it's just something that we're navigating, and there's a lot of kind of to what Travis is saying is that there's a lot of services that I would love to provide, but there is a little bit of a standstill sometimes where it feels like, well, I don't even have the keys to get in. Who can be the reliable person, especially with, and I say this kind of semi-selfishly, of like, I might not always be around on a Sunday afternoon just to open up a gym consistently if I have things going on with my own, you know what I mean? Just like building the infrastructure, but
Right.
also bringing Rick to the table or whoever, school board, to say, we acknowledge that our use of the facility is a privilege. Where's the easy medium? And we understand that if we do not execute the full expectations, then we risk losing having a program. And I would echo that voice if it ever came to it, because that's the standard we have to meet. But we're navigating it. We'll get there. And it's wrapping up, and I'm gonna put it in a note that maybe for our next meeting, we bank for 90 minutes, and that way we don't. If we use all of it, great. If we don't, then at least it's there. So just kind of polishing up some of these last few notes.
I talk a lot.
It's all good. It's very helpful. So there's a lot of adult sports, which are going to be kind of intertwined, and some later things I'll highlight at the end here. But there's a lot of opportunities in like the summer camp side of things, where I think in this first year of really kind of whetting the palate for interests of different things. A lot of that does fall in the lap very easily for a lot of sport-oriented programs working with our varsity coaches. But I've already met with a gentleman who's a certified outdoor guide who wants to start looking at some different opportunities for canoeing, kayaking skill, base camp skills, utilizing our trails, could be expedition-based. And so I think like looking at some of these like week-long programs can help kind of generate the interest for it. Or even looking at like vacation weeks in which the school's off. But like PE camp is a really popular one in winter. So I've talked with the PE teacher at the memorial school. I've talked with Dan and Paul about the idea of this junior cop / junior firefighter program. That's kind of like a feeder into the junior firefighter program that's designed for like 14-year-olds. Like I know my son would be all over that. But just like looking at not just sport, but enrichment-based programming, and just really looking at like, I believe strongly that so much of the skills and the resources are around here, and you don't have to look too far. But the more we promote it, I think will be more people that will come to the table. So my modest goal is like 3 to 5 new camps this summer, with the idea that like we'll eventually be able to fill out a full 8-week specialized camp opportunity. Childcare, I know, is of interest. That's a big conversation. Day camp's a little different, but like full on after school care, there's a lot of infrastructure to build there. Facilities, as we mentioned, you're going through the licensing process and also just making sure it's a quality program. But
Great facility right here for it though, huh?
and that's again, we're like looking at facilities, which is a great segue into where I was headed, is in addition to commenting about the beach, there's a lot of things there too. Is I've been trying to look at our facilities and look at what are some low-hanging fruit projects that really is going to help bolster even not only just passive recreational use, but also programmatic. So I've already met behind here with, his name's Eric, what's his last name, Wenzel?
Yeah, I think that's.
My daughter's doing Frozen Junior, so I'm like, Weaselton, don't say Weaselton.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean, no, it's W.
Yeah, so he constructed the playground back in 2009. And so he's like, oh yeah, I remember building this back then. And he's like, it's just in need of TLC, some updated bolts. It could get a recoating of painting, some tension adjustments. But some of the labor is really just landscaping, some timber reframing, already getting quotes on resurfacing the court for not only just basketball, but also outdoor pickleball court. And not only do I think that is just like a nice facility enhancement, but as you've acknowledged, like this space in itself offers so much opportunity. Yes, it's where we hold our meetings. We would just navigate that if there's a direction through advisory of this group, that if we see through ideas that I have, ideas of this committee that we have here, that we want to utilize this space for something that is care-oriented or art-specific program or a general like tumbling gymnastics class because we can't get into school, or a Saturday enrichment program, we can do that.
For something for kids that aren't pretty fit. Like I have a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old and you can't do anything with them. There's no
Yeah.
programs.
But like a young
Like, you have to go to
family-oriented
Augusta To
space.
find a program.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
like, obviously the town has invested a certain amount of money into here to have speakers in the ceiling and all this stuff.
Right.
But if if this committee or the town can justify to itself that this building is is better used for something else, there's no reason why the select board can't meet again back in the lower level of Compton Hall. I mean, we don't need all these seats 99% of the time. So it's, but to do that, I'm not speaking for Kayla. She gets to vote. I just advise them. But I'm just saying that there's no reason why, if you guys build out enough programs, that this building can't be sort of absorbed by those programs to do other things other than what it's doing right now. I mean, there's somebody in here, I would say 3 nights a week, but the rest of the day, it's empty.
Right.
So,
And I get a lot of requests for rentals, and I just said, yes, just not yet. And because there's just that infrastructural building, like I'm familiar with, it's not hard to put together what a potential rental contract might look like. But I don't feel like I want to do that until we get like the full-on facility up to a certain standard. But again, like that's a whole other opportunity in which that we could offer. I know we mentioned about the beach and just creating those systems. And so there's just so many different things that we could do. It's just more of a matter of, again, sharing in this conversation, where do we feel like the priorities are, what's feasible, both in the short term, but then looking at some longer term plans. And that's where it's just really nice to have a group to finally work with that can help steer and align, make sure that like what I have aligns with what the community wants. Because I think I have a pretty good idea of the things I want to do, but I want to make sure it reflects what the community deserves.
okay, so Kayla, I'm gonna take this over a second, kick it directly to you. And I'm going to ask you to try to wrangle these people into the amount of days, when they want to meet and how often. Because you guys have to decide that.
Yes.
So, and I talked to Mike, he's your staff person for this committee, so he needs to be available as well, but Madam Chairwoman, please get this off of our plate.
Is there something you were thinking of, like frequency?
I don't think that in this first year, monthly is terrible. Just as we have some priorities to work out, but I'm a big believer in which, like, I don't want people to feel like we need to meet just for the sake of meeting. I want there to be concrete things that really need to be worked on, because everybody has 10,000 other things they need to attend to. But initially, it feels like monthly to start. And then if we feel like we're at a place in which we need to allow more time in between, maybe that gets agreed upon in the group, say, hey, we're going to go to a every other month
Or if
structure.
we have to add a meeting when we get closer to budget time and
Sure.
things like
Absolutely.
that, or being flexible around that meeting time.
Right.
Do these meetings have to be posted a certain amount of time in advance, like this?
Ideally, it would just, no, there isn't a thing, but generally we try to post them a week before.
So if we needed to do like a Zoom one, like if there's bad weather, we could all sign on to like a Zoom link instead of coming.
Absolutely.
Sure, absolutely. It's totally flexible. And when we,
And if 2 of you don't ever want to come here ever again, you can do it by Zoom too. That's fine.
Yeah.
We have a Zoom policy in town, so we have select board members that live in
You know,
different places. So that
gives me the Zoom for age friendly. I can use it for this committee as well.
right, I think it's is it just age friendly or is it like the generic?
No, we want our own,
Okay.
that.
certain committees have their own because they run into different ones.
Right.
Where you have a town email and I do too, you can easily just set up a meeting using Teams.
Sure.
And then we don't have to deal with Zoom if we don't want.
Well, you can. do that.
Right, that's fine too. Yep.
Right.
we talked
My,
last night,
I
yeah.
think what I would propose with that is just keeping in mind that if there are attendees,
Yeah.
I think it's great to be as uniform.
Oh, yeah, you can send the link
possible.
and make it public.
Yeah, okay,
So-
perfect.
Yeah, all of our meetings, there's a community calendar. If you log on to monmouthmaine.com, you just kind of scroll down on the
Right.
page. And you hover over any day, it shows you what meetings are there and the Zoom links are always there. And it also has all the meeting materials. So generally what we would ask for is that you would send, Lori's usually the one that does it, Lori Walker in the town office. If you copy me or her on it, she's the one that's gonna post it anyway,
Yeah.
but
She gave me the
if you-
cribs to do that.
if you send, Oh, you
I
have
did it for
the,
this one, yeah.
oh, okay, well
Yeah.
then send it to him then.
I don't know how to unlock that door, but I know how to set up a meeting on the calendar.
So when you have an
Yeah,
agenda,
I'm dated.
you can send it to him now and he can put it on there. I can do it and Lori can do it, but we have limited the number of people that can put things on the website, but,
For the sake of flexibility, is it unreasonable to send a little poll like you did the other day and get everybody's take on it? I mean, Wade, you got basketball coming up. I mean, you're gonna be
I
a
know.
busy man, but it'd be good to have as many people, I think, present as possible. Is it, I mean, 3 weeks in advance, can we all do a poll and?
I think that that's probably a good idea. I know that like Ken had mentioned, the trail committee sometimes has issues hitting quorum because,
Yep.
you know, the night, even though it's
Right.
recurring, doesn't always work for everyone. So I think that that's a really good
Make it
idea.
work?
Yeah, we can give ourselves some grace in the process that if things need to change, then.
And then as far as an agenda, do you want to, who's gonna get that to me so that I can?
I think if the three of us are able to
Okay.
work.
To work
independent-
together to just pull it, okay,
And then, but also through solicitation of the group of
Right,
items that.
right.
so
I'll
we have
send
the
it-
meeting
have something
before and all
on
such
the
a thing.
agenda, we can just like.
Yeah, I think you.
Email you.
Email it.
Yeah, I would
Email
email
you,
him. I
email
mean,
you, yeah.
you know, he's getting
Your
paid.
point,
Please leave the volunteers
Yeah,
alone.
let's do that. Send it to me and then I'll communicate.
Okay.
And you'll have my email and you'll have a distribution list. So if you've got something, you could, I mean,
I
just
work
send
from
it.
home,
like
I have a
the
very flexible
Right.
schedule.
I'm flexible too, I mean, in
Okay.
terms of that.
You guys do whatever you want. I try to leave my elected officials out as much as I have to, just because they don't get paid enough to
Right.
deal with all the day-to-day crap. So, but that's up to
You
however you want
know,
to, however you want.
Darlene, can we talk about,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah?
Yeah.
That's fine. So, yeah, so we'll do that. And we're gonna
With
do
obviously-
just a survey for next meeting?
Yeah.
Okay,
With obviously the holiday coming up, it might. get kicked.
Right, so like, so for example,
we'd have to be into the first week in December, probably.
right, just to give you an idea, so the select board is gonna meet on the 12th. And then their next meeting is the 26th, which is the Wednesday night before Thanksgiving, so they're not going to meet that day. I haven't asked them, but I know they're gonna say no. And then, and then December 10th, and then their next meeting on the 24th is Christmas Eve, so I know they're not gonna meet then either. So just keep all that in mind when you're kind of meeting, when you get into this kind of weird time of the year, it does become hard
Right.
with all the holidays, and you got a Veterans Day in there on the 11th, which is, a government bank holiday, but it's still a day off for some people.
Right.
Well, if we do a poll and people can meet like earlier in November, so we can actually have a productive. meeting,
Yeah.
maybe we just do that.
Yeah.
Towards the holiday.
We could do it earlier in November and then we'd
Yeah.
maybe decide that we will meet earlier in December. And then we'll just.
And by the-
holidays.
And by the age of the most people in the room, I think that you all work during the day, but there is nothing that prevents you from meeting in the daytime either.
Right.
But it may not work for many people in this room, but some committees are able to meet in the middle of the afternoon, and that's their prerogative, but I understand that that's not everybody, I know that that's not everybody's.
Out with a kid.
That would be explained to my manager.
But, yeah,
I just wanted to point that there is no requirement that you meet at night. You can do whatever you want.
Don't be sneaking any 5 AM times on.
No.
Early riser, I live by the sun.
I am not a
Sun's not even
morning
up by
person.
then.
I don't know if I'd show up for 5 AM.
Jesus, it's like 8 o'clock
Or
now,
one,
right?
like
Yeah.
4:30.
Don't affect your golf at 5 AM.
So it really has.
4 AM to 7 AM is my time, so.
I know, I know.
That's like, those are my hours. Rest of the day, everyone else can have.
So the decision was that you're gonna send out some type of a poll and try to figure out when they're gonna meet next?
Yeah.
With the understanding of like once a month.
Yeah. Okay,
Right.
Yeah.
okay, very good.
Yeah.
It's just
I think
when we,
since the beginning year.
yeah, I just wanna reiterate that when, in December, we have our department head meetings basically the second Tuesday of every month. And then that's when Mike's gonna get his marching orders to create his
Right.
budget. So You may in December and January, you may need to meet a little more frequently than that because
Yeah.
I need something to present to the select board by basically the 1st of February.
Yeah.
So
Well, we'll
just keep that in mind. I just want you to all know that there may be.
You deal with the angry people.
Yeah,
Thanks,
we
Ben.
spent 3.5 million and we have plans for a new
Facility.
rec center right here.
Yeah.
I have the details all done. I'll see you at the meeting.
Schematics.
Yeah, I actually do have them written out, the schematics and the exact specifications.
I would solve a lot of them, yeah.
It would solve about 80% of the problems for my problem selfishly.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Gym time?
So third week in November and third week in December? Does that sound?
Second, second, third-ish, I would say. But yeah, I'll send that out probably in this week, early next. That way we can at least lock something in and we'll
Yeah,
have something to plan around.
yeah, second or third week in November, and then we could do the same in December, probably.
Yeah.
So,
We'll just do the process.
I think your meetings will generally be held here. Most of the time, Zoom is usually up, so this will get posted like any other town committee, so it'll show up on YouTube, usually like the next day or the day after when Dennis puts it up. Just so you know, so your meetings will be out there. When you meet.
I will put together the minutes.
Watch it.
And
Quiet.
I'll put together the minutes and
Very good.
send them out for you all to say, no, that didn't happen, or yes, it did happen, or tweak this.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. Bob, I just want to say thank you to everybody for coming out and getting this ball rolling. I'm really excited, and we'll get through one thing at a time.
And he's gonna do much better next time to get you out of here.